What a journey that this has been over the course of the last couple of years. I appreciate Wade's comments and kind of where this all originated and why this started. And early on, the identification that all of the funding in the programs and the efforts that we were putting into workforce development, we still had one problem when it came to the actual number of people that we had and were going to have projected in our workforce, coupled with this notion that when we asked people or talked to people that either weren't from Wisconsin or haven't been here before, that what they knew and what they felt about Wisconsin was very limited. And so if we were going to be successful in attracting workers to our state, that we had to start changing the narrative, that we had to do it in a way where it was all of us. It was the business community, the economic development community, city leaders, government leaders, education, all of the above. We have to be kind of singing from the same choir book. And so we started off in 2015 just kind of talking about the problem, thinking about how we start this conversation. In 2016, I was pleased and privileged to be here to announce Think, Make Happen. So really 2 years of research and conversation and getting ideas and feedback from people across the state, and especially from our stakeholder groups. This was the creation of what it could be when we found a way to talk about Wisconsin in a way that was true to our heritage, true to our culture, true to our companies, our economic landscape, true to who we wanted to be and who we've been. So Think, Make Happen. And it wasn't just, obviously WEDC or WMC, but it was every region or every community that this could be meaningful and it's something that we could all use. So then the next steps, we have now Think, Make Happen. We have it embraced and adapted and adopted by folks and groups all across the state. So we had to now start building on it. So looking at where we were, and when I say we in this sense, WEDC, in terms of kind of our marketing budget and where we were shifting priorities into talent and having more focus, we identified that we could probably start tackling one media campaign. So last year when I was here, we showed you what we were going to market with in the Chicago market, targeting millennials, knowing that that is the target age of folks that are in that stage of life where they're making the decision of where they want to go next. Where they want to move for a job. Do they want to go back home, or do they want to try something different? Do they want to get out of a big city, or have an opportunity to have more outdoor opportunities, whatever it might be? And so we had that campaign running from January till June. Touch back on that in a minute. And then you also heard from Governor Walker last year that he was proposing a $6.8 billion package to add to that and to expand our reach and our target audiences. And so then adding our alumni, Wisconsin alumni and veterans to this campaign. So all of these efforts, and each year that we've been back, we've seen progress. And what I'm excited to share with you today is not just another update and another progress, but some of the impact that it's having and where we've been, and answering some of that question, how do you know if we're being successful? So starting off with our millennials, in particular the Chicago campaign that ran from January till June. Just kind of to remind everybody what that focus was. We researched the target audience and we asked them, what do they want more of? What are they frustrated with? What are their pain points? What would drive them to move or make them want to move to another area? And it was cost of living. It was commute times. It was the loss of opportunity with family and friends, or even volunteering or whatever it might be that we did. Well, those were things that we could tell a pretty strong story about here in Wisconsin. So we built the campaign around those aspects of it. And we knew that it would have an impact. We didn't realize how much of an impact and how much of a reaction that this was going to get. Almost 500 million paid media impressions, almost 30 million social media impressions. And then it got the attention of national media. Not only we were on the front page of the Chicago Tribune, but you had the Wall Street Journal, PBS NewsHour, CNBC, wanting to know what Wisconsin was doing, how we got this to happen, and why it was so important for us in our future economy. And even more meaningful, and one of those aspects that is very important for us to be tracking, so we know if the messages that we're sending are resonating with folks, and they are. The website received over 300,000 hits, primarily from that target audience. And more importantly, they were taking action. They were looking at our regions across the state of Wisconsin. They were searching for jobs, and they were searching for homes. And then going back and talking to that original group of folks that we tested that perception with before we built the campaign, and asked them, how did they feel about Wisconsin now? And in almost every important category, we had an increase from 4 to 8 percentage points, and in the most important one, almost a 6% increase on whether they would now consider moving to Wisconsin. It was very positive. Even more so, we talk about that story and changing the narrative. This was a recent ranking that Wisconsin received as a state. Looking for a job, here's where to move, and it says these 10 cities have an excess of amazing job. And number 3 was the state of Wisconsin, and you probably can't read it up there, but it even says the state of Wisconsin as a whole has a lot going on for it right now, giving it a number 3 spot. So, huge milestone for us. So now in the next iteration of this, and with that $6.8 million package that the governor and the legislature supported for us, we were able to expand this into 13 more Midwest metros, and those were determined by the factors that you see up on the screen: the density of the target market, industry types that are located here, are they aligned with the jobs that we have available, cost of living, quality of life, and migration patterns. And then to build out the campaign and what this might look like, we looked at also like where we want to prioritize the advertising in those areas that have a higher percentage of folks that are wanting to move or leave the area. And we asked them, what is the factors that you consider, what are important to you in determining where you want to live and where you want to settle down? And no surprise, quality of life is number 1 with 93%. Work-life balance, career opportunities, low crime rate, education, low cost of living, et cetera. All very high-ranking attributes. But then we asked them, how do you feel about Wisconsin when you think about these things? And those rankings changed pretty quickly. Number 1, outdoor activities, natural resources, raise a family, quality of life, low cost of living, and obviously good weather is at the bottom because it is winter in Wisconsin. We can't really do anything about that, but those other attributes, we know that those are things that we are actually really strong in. So it shows us where we can focus our messaging. Again, looking at where those biggest gaps are in those areas where we know Wisconsin to be incredibly strong, but obviously we have some opinions to change of others outside of the state of Wisconsin. So using that same idea of you can have more of what you want, you can define your more here in Wisconsin. The following is examples of the ads that were built out for this particular campaign.
With a booming economy and over 15,000 lakes, we're just as much a great place to work as we are to play. Wisconsin. It's more you.
With hundreds of ethnic restaurants and food trucks, and an even more diverse list of career opportunities, you'll love your day job just as much as your nightlife. Wisconsin. It's more you. With a booming economy and housing dollars that go further, you can find your dream job and that big backyard you've always dreamed of. Wisconsin. It's more you. Thanks to incredible job opportunities and an average commute of just 22 minutes, you can get ready for work at home and not on the way. Wisconsin. It's more you. With over 170,000 STEM jobs predicted by 2020 and a lower cost of living, you can experience rewarding days at work and enjoyable evenings at home. Wisconsin. It's more you.
So, and then we have some examples of some of the other creative in-place marketing, similar to what we did in the Chicago market, but more customized for the communities and the regions that we are going to be advertising in. So what you see here is on the end of one of the shared bike racks, more ways to balance high tech with high touch. So kind of playing off some of the job opportunities that we have here in Wisconsin. Coffee sleeves, more great places to work and play. Come to a place where the daily grind is primarily coffee related. And here, one of those bar coasters, more fulfilled promises of building things at home after building things at work. With an abundance of construction jobs and housing dollars that go farther, making a great living and having a great life go hand in hand. And this is one that would be on like an Instagram scroll screen. More reasons to leave your scrubs in the car. With an abundance of available healthcare jobs and lots of great beaches, work isn't the only place you'll be set. So kind of showing also an image that some may not think about when they think about Wisconsin, some of our hundreds and thousands of great beaches across the state. And the next ad that you're going to see kind of answers that question if you are a community or a region and you think, okay, how can I use this? How can I adapt this for me? Racine County did just that.
With an abundance of available healthcare jobs and lots of great beaches, work isn't the only place you'll be set. Racine County, it's more you.
Really demonstrating the adaptability of all of this messaging. And again, just similar to like we did in Chicago, social media, heavy social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, streaming channels like Pandora and YouTube, and then obviously that in-place marketing that we saw. Okay, next, alumni. We have over, just for UW-Madison, 440,000 living alumni in the world. So you've got a pretty captive audience of folks that have already had a Wisconsin experience. And then you add to that all of our other UW system, technical colleges, private colleges to that. And there's a lot of people that we can reach out to through pretty easy channels because you've got LinkedIn that really can target and drill down into folks that have had experience. We have our own alumni networks that we can build off of. Again, you see a couple of the print publications that we're able to promote through. And then obviously social media and targeted ads like Facebook. But one of the challenges that we had in this one, obviously, is that we can't do an ad for every single college or every single university in the state. So what we did is we built kind of a playbook. We built a number of examples from different colleges, 2-year, 4-year, private, from across the state, and featuring alumni from those institutions that have either moved away or decided to stay, and the career experience and why they did that, showing those testimonials. So here's just a couple of those examples.
I went to school at University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, and moved to Washington, D.C. for almost 3 years. I came back home to Green Bay so that I can make a greater impact and provide a service that is not otherwise available for patients in this region. My husband and I decided it would be a great place to raise a family because it's a close-knit community, it's not too big, it's not too small, and of course I have to come back home to root for my favorite team.
I graduated Western Technical College in 2010 with an associate's degree in HVACR technology. I took a job down in Richmond, Virginia, and worked down there for a year. What brought me back to Wisconsin was the fishing, the biking, the hiking, snowmobiling, and there's a lot of outdoor activities that Katie and I enjoy. The hobby of mine is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and some of my closest friends are people I've met at the gym.
I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2007 and moved to Washington, D.C., believing that I would be able to find more business opportunities there. But as it turns out, I was wrong. In fact, it really opened my eyes to the opportunities here in Wisconsin. I can do my business from anywhere, and I chose Wisconsin because this is a community where I can thrive with my family as well as my business.
So if you go to inwisconsin.com/alumni, you'll see all of these different stories and video testimonials along with other information really targeted towards alumni that have gone to school in Wisconsin. And I think this is a good time to give a shout out for all of the support and enthusiasm that has gone into building this campaign. There has been a ton of work done over the past year, and you've seen 2/3 of it so far. But along each step of the way, companies, universities, people have raised their hands and said, how can we help? It's obviously, we have to kind of quarterback, but we could not do it without that, and it's one of the reasons that you see so much of the content and the exposure so far. So again, also, if you are interested in using one of the templates, we can help you get in touch with one of our staff members, and we'll give you kind of that playbook that we talked about. Now, veterans, the third plank. When this was pitched, I think the idea was we have a lot of businesses that support veterans in the state. We support veterans, and there is this time when they decide to leave the military where they're making that decision where to move, so it's a good target audience. But what we learned has been so much more. We started a partnership where we worked with Hiring Our Heroes to help us kind of build out our game plan with that. Hiring Our Heroes is an organization under the U.S. Chamber Foundation umbrella, and their entire mission is about helping service members transition successfully back into civilian life. So at these summits at military bases around the world, they provide access to information and resources. They have companies that are there with jobs, opportunities, interviewers, recruiters, and then they kind of help to give them guidance and steer them in the right direction as they're making these decisions. And Hiring Our Heroes, what they really helped us with is identifying where it was best for us to be in terms of having a team there on the ground and presenting, because it really doesn't make sense for us to go to bases where really no one leaves the area. We had a higher likelihood of bringing people to Wisconsin if we went to those bases where just a higher percentage of folks transition out. It could be cost of living, it could be the job opportunities that are in the area, whatever it might be. So this is the list that we have attended. We've got just under half under our belt so far. When we are on the ground, we've got this incredible crew, and there's a picture here in a second that you'll see, that is there talking face-to-face with these veterans. We have a team from Department of Veterans Affairs, from DWD, and WEDC. And I want to give a shout out to these folks, because one of the reasons that this has been so successful is that the passion of this group is amazing. So don't want to forget their military rankings, so excuse the notes. So DWD, Tori Anderson, Army National Guard. Is Tori here? I know a couple of them I saw blue shirts. Okay, there we go. Josh Barr, U.S. Army. Is Josh here? Back there. Gary Meyer, U.S. Air Force. And then from DVA, we've got Steve Yonke, and I know I saw Steve's blue shirt right over there, U.S. Marine Corps. Jessica Williams, U.S. Army Reserves. Is Jessica here? Might be here. And WEDC, we have Andy Wentworth, U.S. Marine Corps. I know he can't be here today. And funny story about Andy is he's not even on our marketing team. He works on the servicing side of the house, but he stepped up and said, I would really like to be a part of this and telling Wisconsin's story. So kind of shows the team that we have there. And then Sarah Bounds, obviously, she is our civilian representative in the crew that really helps with the logistics and the team building. So this group has received feedback. I'm going to show you a couple of things in a second from members that are there, that it's not just about marketing the state, and it's not just about promoting jobs and economic development and all of those things, but what they're doing in terms of connecting with someone and telling them about this state that appreciates vets to the regard that we are the #1 state for vets in terms of the programs that we offer, and the fact that we would actually bring all these resources together, that we have 72 county veteran service officers, the only state in the country to do that, to have direct access to those resources, or to help the companies that are trying to work with veterans, is so meaningful. The other thing that we have is we have this passion this win-win idea that it's great for the vets, but it's also good for us. An example, so when we did the official launch of this campaign in the fall, we were at a number of places around the state, and I had the privilege of starting off here in Madison at WPS. And Tim Lesage, a decorated U.S. Marine Corps veteran, was there. And he found out we were going to Pendleton that next week. And coincidentally, he had spent 17 years based out of Camp Pendleton, and said, hey, I'd love to be a part of this. Well, that was Friday. On Tuesday, he was boots on the ground with this team in Camp Pendleton with his sleeves rolled up, working right alongside of them. So just examples of the kind of support that we've seen throughout all of these campaigns, but particularly with the veterans. The results so far have been really incredible. The event attendance, just over 3,200. Team interactions, and that's really like long conversations, getting the names, taking their information, 850. And then 421 active cases. And when an active case is that, they say, yes, I want to come to Wisconsin, I want to look for a job. So it goes into the case management system that is a partnership between Department of Veterans Affairs and Department of Workforce Development to make sure that these folks that are interested don't fall through the cracks, that we make sure that we can help get them here to Wisconsin. Many of you may have seen an article in the last, I think it was Friday's or Saturday's paper that included this story from Jeremiah Hill, who was at one of our events. And the email that he sent, just kind of, this is what I'm telling you, the feedback and the reaction has been so strong. He says, "I'm excited about my future in Wisconsin. Mr. Yonke and his team were amazing. Wisconsin was not on my radar until the wonderful team from Wisconsin came to Oahu. They sparked my interest. I researched all that was brought to my attention about Wisconsin and found this state would be a perfect fit for my family and I. Mr. Yonke and his team are truly a blessing. It's amazing what being in the right mindset and meeting the right people can create. I'm actively applying for positions in Wisconsin. I look forward to setting my roots down and growing there." Another example, Larry Avancini with the U.S. Army. "Wisconsin is never a place that I would have thought of until meeting the Wisconsin team. With all of the benefits and the opportunities in Wisconsin, it has moved to the top of my places I'm looking for work. After the transition summit, I went home and talked to my wife about it, and she is even excited about the possibility of moving there because of all the benefits." So it just kind of showing that personal reaction. Beyond that, other federal organizations, not just hiring our heroes, but Department of Labor, are looking at us and saying, "How are you doing this? How did you get your state agencies to work together? How did you get your legislator to provide funding for this? How did this make this investment in your state?" And they're wanting to use it as a best practice example. So we are truly leading the way in these efforts. And this is the president of Hiring Our Heroes, Eric Eversole. "The state of Wisconsin is raising the bar for states interested in attracting the exceptional talent of our veterans and military spouses. We look forward to working with Wisconsin to showcase the tremendous economic opportunity their state has to offer our nation's military families." So Rebecca Deshane and Steve Yonke that are pictured here in this photo. Rebecca is WEDC's and UW Systems Shared Talent Initiatives Director, and we went to Washington, D.C. to kind of share our story and share what we've learned so far and how it's been meaningful, not just for us here in Wisconsin and our businesses, but for these transitioning veterans and their families. And I guess anecdotally, Rebecca shared with me yesterday that in the conversations, they found out that the Japan transition team asked, "Hey, is Wisconsin coming to our transition summit?" So it's definitely, the word is getting out there on what we're doing. When we were here last year talking about this, we had shared kind of what the ideas were for the marketing campaign and how we were going to build out this veterans plank. Obviously, looking at, again, as with all of the other campaigns, things that were important to the veterans as they decide where they want to move. Obviously, job at top of the list, a home, and most of them have families, so education at all levels, K through 12, higher education, and then built out official ads around that. And they are shown in place in some of the print publications as well as social media. So I have just one example of one of the social media ads that you might see if you were in or around a military base.
From Alpha Bravo Charlie to ABCs, your heart went into serving our country, ours will go into teaching your kids. Wisconsin has some of the best public schools in the U.S., so you can be as proud of them as we are of you. Wisconsin, it's more you.
So again, the messages kind of build on that experience that they're having in the military, whether it's the training, where they're at, or what's important to them, and then playing up the Wisconsin advantage to that. So far through the paid media that we've had, 6.2 million impressions, and you can see by the shaded map there the concentration of where the majority of those visitors are coming from. So we got Texas, California, Florida, obviously Wisconsin and Illinois and Massachusetts are on the highest of those lists. And again, from the digital media campaign, 3.4 million impressions, and then 25,000 on the web page views just since we started the campaign. And the kind of neat thing about this is that we have found through the website data that a high concentration of our regional searches, so where people are learning more about the state, come from the veterans ads. On the website, inwisconsin.com/veterans, as I mentioned with the alumni, there's a very specific section to veterans that talks about all of the advantages and the programs that Wisconsin offers, but then it also has opportunities for people to engage and interact with it. If you are one of those veterans that's researching Wisconsin, you can also look for a home. And one of the coolest things is that when you go to the look for a job, you don't just type in a job title, you type in your military occupation code. And then it will give you jobs that are aligned with the skill sets that you have in your current role in the military. One of the other things you can do is you can share your own story, kind of help to spread the Wisconsin story to others. And this is an example of Jen Cornelius, who submitted her story. This is just a small excerpt of it, but saying exactly what we feel and what we know, that Wisconsin fits our family's personalities. The work hard, play hard attitude of Wisconsinites is unparalleled. And of course, work ethic is important, but the working lifestyle is balanced with a high quality of life. There's a ton of access to outdoor activities, festivals, great food, and the investment in wellness and activities is a reward for a job well done. So you asked the question, this is really cool. Stimulus Age joined us in Pendleton. Some other companies are already exhibiting. Oshkosh Corp, John Deere, American Family, Quad has kind of taken on additional initiatives into the veterans recruitments. So how can you do this? So a couple of ideas, and we've got a team that is out in the lobby. If you didn't see them yet, they have little kiosks and stations set up so you can actually do some of this signing up today if you're interested, but you could be a Mission Wisconsin partner. So register with the jobcenterofwisconsin.com and say that you are looking to hire veterans. You can actually exhibit at Hiring Our Heroes. It is free to exhibit, and Hiring Our Heroes will try to place you close to the Wisconsin booth so that it is part of the greater Wisconsin team to complement each other's efforts. You can be, like Tim did, and be an ambassador. You can join us. And I know we've had several people that have said, hey, I would just like to go help. I'll pay my own way, but this is a great thing that we're doing. How can I help? Well, you can actually go with us and help be in the booth and tell either your own story or the Wisconsin story in general. If you're a company that wants to be in the area but maybe doesn't have the ability to have a booth, you could actually host a reception or something we're calling a sidecar event while we're there at the summit. So we're in the summit all day, and perhaps in that evening there's maybe a Packer bar or something like that nearby where we just have a casual reception for more networking and relationship building with some of the transitioning veterans and their families. Or you can consider Hiring Our Heroes Corporate Fellowship, hosting a 12-week program with your company for transitioning service members to basically give them professional leadership training and hands-on experience, helping them to be more successful not in their own lives, but in your companies as well. So as you can see, we have a lot going on. We've done a lot. We have a lot left to do. But I really want to reiterate how important the role is that you've played in these efforts along the way, and thank you for that.